In this video, you will learn about MerchJar. It's a PPC automation software for Amazon sellers. To be honest, I was surprised myself with some features they have introduced. I would say they're innovative and I haven't seen in other PPC automation tools. So watch this video, and if you want to try MerchJar for yourself, there is a 14-day trial and a special discount if you use offer, especially for Orange Click viewers, which you will find below in the description. And this video is part of the Demo Mondays video series, where we invite different Amazon tool creators and we ask them to present their solution just like this on the screen. And now let's get to know MerchJar. Hello, Cameron. It's nice to have you here. Could you please introduce us to MerchJar and how does it help Amazon sellers?
Sure. So Amazon sellers, they have a lot on their plate to juggle, and effective advertising is a huge chore. MerchJar makes it easy to streamline and automate your Amazon ads so you can focus on what matters most, growing your business.
That sounds good. And can you specify a little bit your target audience to what kind of, maybe what Amazon business model sellers you're targeting and what size?
So MerchJar supports a range of sellers, whether you're kind of just getting your foot in the door with advertising to intermediate, where you're scaling your business, to even more advanced, to agencies. We built the most sophisticated, powerful automation engine on the market. So if you're looking to be able to query your data in advanced ways, we have that for you, as an agency. And then as a beginner, if you're just looking started, we have starter automations that you can just click to turn on and have 90% of the stuff you need to be doing anyways to optimize your ads done for you. So we support a wide range of sellers when it comes to Amazon advertising experience, as well as just the products that you sell. We support all seller platforms, whether it's Seller Central, Vendor Central, Merch on Demand, KDP, every single Amazon platform that has access to ads, we support across every single Amazon ad marketplace.
All right, it's amazing. So beginner Amazon seller is welcome, advanced is welcome. Even you have a offer for agencies. That's perfect. And I assume you're covering probably most of the Amazon regions and marketplaces. Is it true?
Yeah, every single Amazon ad marketplace we support.
Cool. All right, so let's jump to your dashboard to see how MerchJar works in a practical way and how Amazon sellers could use in their Amazon business.
Yeah, absolutely. So we pull in all of your Amazon advertising data through the Amazon Advertising API. We're a verified Amazon advertising partner. So we're able to sync all of your data every single day, multiple times a day, so that you're able to make optimizations on the fly. So we have our dashboard here, nothing too crazy, but it's going to show you all your various metrics, all your different products. It aggregates all your campaigns if you have multiple campaigns at a product level, so you can evaluate how each product's performing. For our agencies or sellers that are selling in multiple marketplaces, we have you can manage every single different Amazon ad marketplace through our dropdown, so it's quick access to each one, and even see how each marketplace is performing together. Most of the time, though, if you're in MerchJar, is either going to be through our automations or our ad manager. I'm going to start with our ad manager. So our ad manager brings in all of your different data sets from Amazon. So your campaigns, your ad groups, ads, keywords and targets, and your search terms. It brings them all into one place. So it's easy to explore your data and make bulk operations across every campaign in seconds. So no more fiddling with bulk operations spreadsheets, waiting hours to perhaps to generate a new bulk operations spreadsheet just because you need a different date range. You can do that all from our ad manager to make your manual adjustments. So this is where those manual adjustments would come in. So I'd say most of our users, they're going to spend the time in keywords and targets, where really managing bids is probably 80% of the tasks that advertisers end up making. So we bring in all your keywords and targets, and we have all the metrics that are available in the Amazon ads that you'd see in your ad console, but we also have some additional information, some additional columns that Amazon doesn't like to show you, for example, conversion rate. For whatever reason, they don't like to show you conversion rate in a lot of their tables. We bring that data in. We have some other specialized features. For example, setting a target ACoS, which you can do on an account level, at a campaign level, or at an individual keyword level, which gives you a nice visual indicator of how your targets are performing at a glance. One other thing that I use all the time, so I'm an Amazon seller myself, so I do manage my own ads, ironically, probably not as often as I should, but one of the things I like to use within the ad manager is target CPC. So this is really useful. The way this is calculated is this tells you what you need to be paying per click to hit the target ACoS that you set. So it's the calculation is your target ACoS times your conversion rate times the average order value, and that tells you what you need to be paying per click to hit what your target is. And it's a great guide to compare to what you're currently paying per click to then adjust your bid accordingly. So within the ad manager, what a typical use case would look like is setting filters for whatever data you're really interested in. Everybody kind of manages their ads in their own way. So for us, it was really important to create a sandbox environment to where you can manage and automate your ads however you want. Where most advertising management platforms have taken either one of two approaches. They either have a black box algorithm where it just automates your ads in, however they decided they should be with this algorithm that you'll never see, or a very rigid structure with something like, ACoS is greater than this, then do this. So we have automations that provide a little bit more flexibility. And within the ad manager, we provide all the metrics that you can filter by, favorite all your most important metrics. So something, if I'm looking for things that maybe spending too much money or above my ACoS goal, I can set those filters easily, and that's going to filter down to any of my, in this example, anything with an ACoS above 50%. I can easily change date ranges, last 30 days, 7 days, and it's very fast. Even with thousands of keywords and targets, it generates quickly. And then we can make bulk actions across all of these campaigns in just a couple clicks. So instead of having to download that spreadsheet, do all your filters, make adjustments, and then re-upload it, you can do this all right from your ad manager. And these I probably should change. So this is actually my own live account. So we can make a change to these bids in real time, and it pushes it. Those are synced in near real time. They get pushed to the API, and those are already changed on my ad console. Some other really useful features within the ad manager is historical data. So especially this time of year for me, it's a big month with, I sell dad shirts. So Father's Day is a big deal. One super useful feature is having historical data. So as you use Merchjar, we store your data over time. When you first sync your account, we're able to sync the previous 90 days from your account. So all your search term data, keyword, campaign data. So even longer than what Amazon gives you with the 65 days of search term data within your ad console or search term reports. We're able to pull that in, and then we store that over time. And this is data that you pay for, this crucial data that you'll now never lose. You don't have to worry about scheduling reports or aggregating spreadsheets together into one, performing pivot tables, all that really tedious stuff. You can have all that data in here. So like for many sellers, there's a seasonality component to their sales. So Q4's a huge one, Black Friday and December. And for me personally, it's that as well, but also June right now. So one of the things that I've found extremely useful is being able to be proactive about changing your bids by looking at previous data. So this time of year, as I'm moving into June, I know it's a big month for me. I want my bids to be already ready to go. They're probably too low moving into June. And as things get competitive, bid prices increase to be able to still be competitive and show your ads. So what I can do, I can look at what my data looked like for my best performing keywords and filters last year during these important sales events. And I can make sure my bids already where it needs to be ahead of time. Where what a usual optimization flow or process would look like is, you go into Black Friday, you maybe increase your bids a little bit because they're going to be higher. And then you kind of wait to see what's going to happen over Black Friday, what the performance of your ads are. Maybe on Saturday to go into your ad console and see what performed, and the stuff that did, you're going to increase your bids. Then you wait another day or two, increase your bids again on stuff that's performing. And you end up with this reactive approach, losing a lot of time, especially during those critical sales days like Black Friday to Christmas. You have 2 weeks, 3 weeks to maximize your sales. And this allows you to set your bid to, I can see exactly what my CPCs were last year for all my best performing targets and keywords, as well as what my target CPC, what I need to be paying per click based on my current target A cost. And I can adjust these bids ahead of time to be where they should be. I think most of us know that cost per click generally isn't going down. So what I can do is just set it to where it would be at least that CPC. And now I'm already prepared for these high volume sales periods instead of that reactive approach where I'm waiting, then increase my bid. I've lost crucial sales time and orders.
When you moused over on the bid field, it showed me history, right?
Yes. So this is another feature I find useful when I'm doing manual optimization, which for me, I tend to be a pretty lazy advertiser, if I'm being honest. Which is why I built the software. I don't want to have a full-time job in my ad console every day with hundreds of campaigns and thousands of keywords and trying to optimize all these. So for myself, I find I'm really only in ad console and doing manual optimizations like this during June, during my big sales period, and then Q4. And then, maybe every couple of weeks, I'm kind of keeping an eye on things, making some manual adjustments. But I find bid adjustments really helpful during this time of year. So I can look at, I'm making bid adjustments once a day, sometimes twice a day, especially during the Black Friday, Christmas period to just keep up on my ads. Things change so fast during those periods where I can see bid trends, where I can see with this one, I've been continually increasing bid over the last month, where if I had one that was maybe a little more up and down, I don't know if this one maybe started out high and I've had to decrease the bid. It gives you just sort of a trend to see, have more confidence in your decision. Like this top one here we're looking at where it's continually increased, I could probably increase a little bit more than what I typically would, just because I've seen it's continually increase. It's hit my, I'm only increasing the bid when it's hitting my goal, so I can see it's continually doing that, and I can be more confident in that and make a bigger change. Where if it was maybe a little up and down all over the place, I increased the bid because it was doing well for a couple of days, then it wasn't because the bid was too high and the bid decreased, I may not make any adjustments, for example. But it's just additional data to make more informed decisions about your ads. And it's something that's just really difficult to get inside of Ad Console. There's some bid history options. It's not convenient. It's not really conducive to when you're actually trying to manage your ads. And then with the manual adjustments, your favorite filters, if you find yourself doing the same kind of optimizations, we have save filters here, so it makes it really quick to just jump in and apply the filters that matter most to you. So that's at the Ad Console or the Ad Manager here. So this is across every data set. The one that's slightly different is our search term data set. So we aggregate all of your search term data. Again, we store this data over time, so I can actually look at, we're looking right now at last year's search term data, and I can look at the last year or a lifetime. When I say lifetime, I mean Merchjar lifetime, since the time we were able to sync your ads. And for me, this goes back to June 20th when we were pre-alpha and before we launched. So I have all of my search term data going way back for years that I can look at and see all this, how the search terms performed across all of my different ad groups. So search terms live at the ad group level. So we aggregate each ad group's search term data together so you can see how it performs overall, and also give you tools to manually negate search terms as well. We do have automation for this, which I'll touch on, but this is going to be, Ad Manager is more, the way I think of it is just more of exploring your data and making manual optimizations. And we can negate these search terms in whatever ad groups we want. If it's not meeting our performance, we can negate those. So this can be used in a variety of ways. So for one, stop wasting spend on search terms that aren't working. We can also filter these by anything that's spending a lot of money with a lot of clicks. I could put spend, conditions, clicks. I like to use clicks personally, and not making us any money. It's not getting any orders. We can filter all that data. So you can see how fast it is. We have 163,000 different search terms that just queried through of 4 years of data, nearly 4 years of data. And it filters all that very quickly. I can see exactly what's spending too much money and negate it right from here, if I want to do some manual optimizations with that. So that's our ad manager. Now I want to move on to the automations. This is a little more exciting. Ad manager is great. It's useful. It's always a good idea to keep eyes on how things are performing. Even with automations, I tend to just look at extremes when I'm doing that and sort of let my automations handle most of the other things. So our first automation feature is Smart Campaigns. So this is all about handling your keyword management. So whether it's positive keywords or negative keywords, there's several different use cases here, but Smart Campaigns works on a search term basis. So this, like the search term ad manager we were just looking at, it's using those search terms to either create keywords, oftentimes from your best sellers or potentially winning search terms, like harvesting them from auto campaign, or negating those search terms, the ones that are getting clicks and not making any money. We want to get rid of those and stop wasting ad spend. So what this looks like, so if we create a new Smart Campaign, we create a Smart Campaign group, and these are based on ad groups. So again, search terms live at the ad group level. So we add whatever ad groups we want to work with. For myself, I usually do this on a product basis. So I tend to, with my best-selling products, have multiple campaigns and ad groups for a single product. But there's a lot of different ways you can end up using this feature. Again, we've built a sandbox. This works with any campaign structure that you may have. But I have this grandpa fishing shirt that we're going to work with. And I have a pretty standard setup with this. I have an auto campaign with all the different auto campaign targeting groups enabled. And then I have a testing campaign. And then within that testing campaign, I have two ad groups. I have one for my exact match keywords, and then I have one for my product targeting ASIN, so my ASIN targeting, which is a pretty simple setup, and you can get more advanced with more campaign types and so forth. But this is usually how I'll start a new product to start testing. And I'm just going to add these ad groups to this group. These are the ones I want to work with within this ad group. And again, I usually keep it just based on one product. You could do some additional, if you have similar products within a niche, you could have them grouped together, but I like to do it based on product, just have the most granular data. And I'm just going to name this. Usually I like to use the ASIN in the name. And then we create rules for these ad groups. So if we scroll down a little bit, we have our ad groups here. I can see I have my auto campaign, and then my exact ad group and my product ad group. And what we do is select the ad groups we want to look at the search terms for. This is the source. So for example, let's say with my auto campaign, I want to find all the search terms that are getting orders, and then I want to create a keyword out of those search terms in my manual campaign. This is a very common optimization that's really time consuming to do through Ad Console, to do it consistently, go through your search reports, see the data. And you're also only limited to 65 days of data with Amazon, where we're able to pull 90 days immediately and then have historical data, especially for any products that or search terms that maybe aren't super high volume. They can take some time to get that order data. It can be really useful to have that longer date range to look at. So what we're doing here by selecting our auto campaign, this is what the first rule we're going to set up. I'm going to give two examples for those two common use cases. It's harvesting search terms from your auto campaigns to create keywords out of, and then negating search terms that are wasting ad spend. So the first example, we're going to create keywords out of this auto campaign. So we're going to look at this ad group. And what we're saying here is, hey, look at the search terms from this ad group that I selected as a source. It is possible to select multiple sources if you like, and it combines all the search term data together. In this case, we're just going to have the one. So look at these search terms for our auto campaign, and then compare those search terms to our conditions that we set here. And in this case, I want to find stuff that is getting orders. So for me, I like to have anything that's got more than one order. I want to make sure it's not a fluke. Just got that one person that clicked a random search term and ordered it, and it's not super relevant. I want to make sure there's at least a couple orders, so it's not a fluke. And anything that gets at least 2 orders in any amount of time, so all the data we have, and we can set additional conditions if we want to have like ACoS filters or spend, we can do that. And any search term that meets those conditions, we're going to perform these actions. These 2 columns here are actions. So the first one is our target ad groups. This is the keyword creation column. So we can say, I want to create an exact match keyword out of the search terms from this ad group that meet the conditions that we just set. And if it's an ASIN, so when your ad shows up on a product page, it's going to show up as an ASIN in your search term report. I want to create that as a product target in my product targeting ad group. We can't have products and keywords in the same ad group. Amazon doesn't allow it. So ad groups are either a keyword or a product targeting type. So that's why I end up setting 2 different ad groups for my manual testing campaign. And Merchjar identifies what type of ad group it is. We're able to identify if it's a keyword ad group or it's a product ad group. And then for those search terms, we're able to identify if it's an ASIN or if it's a keyword, and we'll put it into the appropriate ad group based on that. And then we just create that rule. And now that's enabled. I probably should name this so I'm going to call this auto harvesting. And we just create that rule and save. Now we put a lot of safeguards in place with automation. We want our users to feel confident that it's going to do exactly what they want. So every single automation feature that we have, you're able to see exactly what's going to happen before you enable that automation, before it actually happens. And with our smart campaigns, we have what we call a dry run. So what this is going to do is just run through every single rule that you've created and show you exactly what's going to happen. So if I do a dry run here, it opens up a new tab, and based on the conditions that I set and the current data, it would create a new keyword based on that data. So you're able to see exactly what's going to happen and be confident. It gives you a chance to adjust those rules. So maybe it's not creating as many keywords as I expect. This is an existing campaign that I have smart campaigns running for, so it's not going to have tons of data that hasn't already performed. Maybe we'll be able to do that with the next one. So the next rule that is really common with smart campaigns is negating search terms. This is something that I see. This is probably one of the bigger mistakes, especially new advertisers make, and this is easy for veterans to get wrong too, or it's easy to let slip. It's going through the search term reports and getting rid of the search terms that are getting a lot of clicks and no orders and wasting money. And I can't tell you how many times I've done an account audit for somebody and they have a search term that's got 200 clicks and 0 orders and wasted tons of money. And that doesn't need to happen. We can make your campaigns more efficient through this. And this automates it. Once you set it up, it's done. Your campaigns become self-optimizing. So what this looks like, so very similarly, we're going to take our auto campaign. So this is mostly useful for me. I do this on any of my broad targeting ad groups. So my automatic campaigns, where it's targeting thousands of different search terms. A lot of those aren't going to be super relevant or great and convert well and hit our targets. And then any of my broader matching keyword or product targeting ad groups. So that would be like broad and phrase, keywords, or category targets, expanded ASIN targets. You can set this up. So what we're doing again is, we're going to look at our automatic campaign, look at these search terms every single day. But this time we want to find the ones that aren't getting any sales, so 0 orders, and spending a lot of money. I use clicks for this, for my data. So anything that's gotten at least 10 clicks, and you can set whatever thresholds you want. The more clicks we get, the more confident we can be in that decision. But anything that's getting at least 10 clicks, and maybe I'll set this a little low, just try to pull in some data that isn't being caught by my other rules. Anything that's getting clicks and no sales, we want to create that search term that's coming from this auto campaign as an exact match negative keyword, or if it's an ASIN, we're going to set it as a negative product target. So our ad will never show for that search term again or that product target again. And I'm going to name this to negation and add the rule. And then we have our 2 rules. And once you set this up with the negation, your campaigns become sort of self-optimizing. Over time, as you collect data, you get those clicks, it's going to automatically get rid of those search terms that are wasting ad spend and prune your campaign, so that's what's left is the stuff that ideally is working at that point. And we can do another dry run, and now we got some new keywords that have gotten clicks and no sales. So this would create these targets. So I'll show you exactly what's going to happen before it happens. And if I'm happy with this, I can go back to my tab here and enable this smart campaign, and it runs every single day at the end of the day, and it helps me improve my targeting with all of my campaigns and stops wasting money. All right, next up with our automation is our flagship feature, recipes. This is the most powerful and flexible automation engine that's on the market. We've created our own pseudo programming language to be able to query your data in advanced and flexible ways. So the way this works, we'll start with just some simple examples. Every recipe, we start by selecting what data set we want to look at. So these would be like the data sets in Ad Manager we talked about. So keywords and targets are going to be really common. A lot of this has to do with bid management. We want to optimize our bids. So we can look at our keywords, but we can also look at campaigns and ad groups and so forth. But keywords and targets are going to be the most common. And what we do is set rules and conditions for these keywords. And then any rules and conditions that match these conditions, we perform an action. So with keywords, that would be setting the state. So if we want to pause them, enable archive, or change bids, we can do that. And then create a schedule for that. So I like to do once a day for a lot of my bid change optimizations. We found that performance tends to be better when you're making small incremental bid changes frequently versus less frequent large changes. So a lot of advertisers, because it is a lot of work, they're optimizing their bids once a week, once every 2 weeks, or in worst case, even longer than that. And they're making big changes at once, which can cause huge swings in performance. And we found just having those really small, frequent bid changes once per day of 2-3% end up getting a lot better performance to fine tune and dial in those bids. So the way recipes works is we create rules, and every rule has a few components. First is a date range. We need to know what date range we want to look at. So over the last 30 days is a date range we can use, and we can just type in. We use natural language with this. It's super easy to use once you kind of understand just how it ends up functioning. We could look at the last 7 days, and then we just, what do we want to look at? We need some kind of metric. So this might be orders. Orders equal 0. And it'll now look at anything that's gotten at least 0 orders. So again, we can look at exactly what's going to happen before it happens and show me all of my keywords here before I set this automation. But we can get more advanced too. So maybe we also want to look at things that, let's say we want to consider pausing keywords that are wasting money. Orders equal 0 and clicks greater than 10. So we can do that, and now our trigger is valid, and we can refresh, and it's going to just show us the ones that apply to that. But it's not always about a single date range. This was a frustration I had with Amazon's own tools, other tools out there, is that, let's say, in this example, I'm considering pausing my keywords. But what happens, so like let's open, I like to use a little bit longer date range if I'm doing that. What happens if maybe it's a keyword that's seasonal? So like our Q4 example, maybe some search terms are only going to perform, or certain keywords are only going to perform certain times a year. What if I was to pause these keywords here, but these used to be my best performers, or they are my best performers during specific time periods? We wouldn't necessarily want to pause keywords that maybe it just hadn't performed recently, but used to sell. So we can set additional date ranges within our conditions, and it has to match both of them. So what that looks like, whenever we do multiple date ranges, we just need to group them together, and we can use parentheses for this. And I'm going to do another clause. So I'm going to put and over the lifetime, orders also equals 0. So doing this, now I've constrained the keywords that's going to filter for, and it's good. I don't have anything that's showing up for that, but it's going to constrain those keywords to make sure it's not getting any order. It hasn't got any orders within this date range that we set, but it also hasn't got any orders over lifetime either. So it wasn't like something that got 1,000 orders last year that just hasn't performed in the last 30 days. And we just got rid of one of our best performing keywords. We can set these conditions so that we can set up, guardrails in a sense to do that. And there's a lot of ways you can end up using this recipe feature. There's you can nest. So we have Boolean logic in here, and I know this can sound complicated to anybody that hasn't used this type of function before, but we can set up additional things like nested conditions. So let's say I want to pause anything that's got more than 10 clicks, or click-through rate less than 0.5%, whatever that looks like. I need a 0. What do I got here? More than that. I gotta have more parentheses. Let's try that. There we go. Now it's going to look at, it's got to have at least 0 orders, and either clicks greater than 10 or click-through rate 0.5. And we could add additional date ranges to this if we want to. We could look at also the last 7 days, 3 days. And whenever we do that, it's going to, see, it's pulling up, gotta go through a lot of data here. It's going to show us in our data snapshot that we call here all the different date ranges. And I have some examples that I'll go through, so I haven't to type every single one out for sake of time. I have some different examples we can look at. So let's say, for example, you want to look at things that maybe recently had an impression drop. So they were getting impressions, and now maybe they're not over the last couple of days. So like Q4, this is a good example. What your bid needs to be competitive can change really quickly. And as soon as it's not, your impressions just fall off a cliff. So I use something like this during Q4 where I want to look at multiple date ranges. So I'm looking at things that we're getting orders within the last couple of weeks. So, if we're thinking it's December 10th, we got a few more days left of this holiday season. I want to find the stuff that was selling, and now over the last 3 days, it was getting impressions, but then in the last 1 day, it stopped getting impressions. We could adjust all of this with, maybe it's, less than 100 impressions and it was getting more than 1,000. Everything's flexible and adjustable. We have all the different metrics available in this, and we have documentation for what all that is, which I'll show here in a minute. But then we can look at all of these, and it can be super useful to, it pulls in the data for every single date range, and I can look at 1 day, 3 day, 14 day. Now these that it's pulling in with these metrics that I put in, I have a ton, but we can look at what these metrics are over time, which can be really difficult to do if you're using Amazon's own tools, like I said, or even just like our ad manager where it gives you one single date range. I haven't seen any other software out there that allows you to query your data using multiple date ranges at the same time. So this can be useful to, this one example, again, useful to find stuff that dropped in impressions that was getting sales. Some other examples here. Let's say you do have those seasonal sales. We have campaign name conditions where you can put keywords in your campaign. So like, let's say you sell a bunch of different Halloween products. You may not want those running every single year, and you don't want to have to remember to enable those. You can set up conditions for any campaign that contains the Halloween or spooky in the campaign name. It's going to enable that campaign on September 1st every single year. And we could create additional rules to manage budgets with those. We could set it to then pause after October 31st, what have you. All this is super flexible to set recipes on certain dates. You can even set it on specific days if you want to run them, twice a week instead of once per day, and even manually. There's some recipes I've set up to where I don't want to run them necessarily all the time, but I'll have it set up and saved where I can just run it manually. And then when we get into like more advanced optimization, so for any of our agencies and, sophisticated sellers, the ones that are, using SQL and, all this data analysis, you can do some really advanced options with this. So one example is here, and this is, so for our not as advanced sellers, or, maybe, I see this, it looks complicated, it's crazy. We totally understand that, which is why we built starter automations. So every account actually comes with 6 starter recipes that handle 90% of your optimizations. This is a piece of one for bid optimizations, but they handle pausing keywords and targets that aren't selling, raising bids on things that aren't getting very many impressions, and managing your bids, things that are outside your ACoS target or below. It's going to fine tune those bids. So it's going to handle 90% of the stuff. So you don't have to do all this, but for our sellers that do have more advanced needs and sophisticated needs, we have this sandbox that's ready to go to pour your data in whatever way you want. And one way we do that is with our starter recipes with our bid optimization. And again, this is a piece of it, is we segment the keywords and targets by order volume. So things that are getting a lot of orders, we can use a shorter, more recent date range to make decisions on how we should adjust the bids. If I have a keyword that's got 50 orders in the last week, I don't really care or need to know what it did a month ago to adjust the bid. I just care what it did recently. I have enough data points, which for me is orders, to make a decision on how to adjust my bid based on what that ACoS is within the last 7 days. If we don't have enough orders though, if we only have 1 order in the last 7 days, it's not really enough data to make a decision on how to optimize that bid. So then we can look at a longer date range for that. And these recipes handle this automatically for you. Again, something that's very difficult to do in an ad manager or Amazon's own tools where you're looking at a date. Because even if you're just looking at the last 7 days, you make some optimizations just so stuff that has a lot of orders, and then you move to a 30-day date range. Those keywords are still showing up. You just made changes to them. It's just a lot to manage, and it's really tedious. And this is going to handle it for you. So by default, these recipes are going to look at the last 7 days, and anything that's got at least 4 orders in the last 7 days, it's going to just use a 7-day date range. If it doesn't, if we don't have 4 orders in the last 7 days, then it's going to automatically back up to the last 14 days. Hey, do we have at least 4 orders in the last 14 days? If yes, we'll just look at the last 14 days, and if it's above our target ACoS, we'll make a bid adjustment to that. And again, if we still don't have enough orders in the last 14 days, it's going to then default back to 30 days and make bid changes based on that, and only look at that 30-day date range, and it will set whatever bid optimization that we want. So in this case, I might set it to where I want it to decrease the bid 3% every single day, as long as that keyword still meets these conditions. As soon as it's not above a 30% ACoS, it's not going to meet these conditions. It's not going to keep decreasing the bid. And then we can see exactly what's going to happen, which targets apply to this before we enable this.
Wow, I really appreciate this recipe kind of sandbox, as you called, as a former web developer.
Yeah, I thought you might. But for the ones that don't want to do that, we totally understand. It's a lot of work. And a lot of people just want to click a button and, have their automations made. So we have our starter recipes, which honestly are the ones I use. I have a couple recipes on my own account that just do really small things, but I'm using the starter recipes myself to handle 90% of the work. And these are going to be things like our 0 impressions. So things that don't have many impressions over the last 3 days. It's going to slowly increase the bid until it starts getting impressions. Or the major ones are going to be our bid change recipes, which handle just optimizing your bids to hit your targets. So these would look like, they're going to look similar to kind of what I just showed. But we have commenting in here, so it kind of explains what everything does. I have in my own, I have a campaign name exclusion, so I don't want this recipe to apply to any of the campaigns that I have. SKC phrasing, I do something different with those. So there's a lot of flexibility that's built into this. But I use these exact recipes that segment it by order volume, which is, for me, extremely important, as I have some products that sell a ton, and then I have stuff that only gets, a few orders a month. So I need to optimize those differently. So it's just, again, like you said, Sandbox environment, you can kind of do whatever you want with it. But we've taken a lot off your plate with these starter recipes. They're going to handle optimizing your bids if they're not performing well, and pausing things that are perhaps, for example, are pause low performers. It's going to pause keywords and targets that meet certain conditions automatically, things that are getting orders and a lot of clicks over the lifetime, or maybe one order and a lot of clicks. You can see there's a lot of different conditions that it's going to look at. And you can write all of these yourself, but we have these starter automations if you don't want to have to do it yourself. We have Recipe World is kind of our vision for that. It's kind of early on. We have all of our starter recipes on here that you can download already existing strategies to import to your account to automate the most important functions to you there. And we also have extensive documentation in our help center for all recipes, all the different metrics and operators that are available in it that you can use, how they're constructed. So we have documentation on all of our different core features.
That's really amazing. I used to be a web developer, and I can understand how sometimes can be difficult to put all these conditions and like these options. Let's say in this screen, you have maybe like 10, 15 conditions written very easily. And if there is a user interface, sometimes it's so many buttons to click, and like you have to think, what did I set up before in the previous step, and it's like can be complicated. It's nice.
That's kind of what I mentioned with like the other platforms approaches. It's either that algorithm black box, you just, I don't know what's going to happen, hope it works. And then the other ones where it's just, click, I'm going to use ACoS greater than 30%, do this. What I haven't seen across any of these is be able to use multiple date ranges within that single query. And that's so important when we're optimizing our ads, because with the examples I gave, it's not just about that single date range. But once we found that, so there is a lot of people that get overwhelmed when they see this and, the eyes glaze over, I'm not a coder. You don't have to be with this. Once you kind of get your head around just the naming, where to put some parentheses, we've seen some users that were really just turned off at first because they're not math people, they're not programmers, be able to create some pretty complicated recipes just, with some practice. But again, that's why we have our starter automations to do 90% of the stuff where you just don't even have to do it. But then if you have more advanced needs, agencies that are already doing this data analysis and using SQL and all this stuff that's really, really complicated, we've created a much simpler interface and language to do that. To where, so it's funny. So like if you're familiar with SQL, these end up actually getting translated to SQL to query our databases. I don't know how to write SQL. I have no idea. But something that is simple in MergeJar would end up being 600 lines of code in SQL. That's really complicated to do. We've made it a lot simpler to use. So those are the core features. There's some other little things within here, but those are going to be the major ones. I know one important thing is history. We show you all of the history. So any changes that MergeJar makes, we have comprehensive logs of exactly what happened and why it happened, all within here. So you can make sure everything's working as expected. But those are going to be the core features with Smart Campaigns, and then our ad manager for those manual changes.
Wow, I'm really impressed about especially the recipe way to program them in some easy language. I think any Amazon seller could hire any kind of programmer, even like a web developer, because it's a very simple language, and in like 30 minutes, some programmer, or as you said, like even the seller himself or herself could like train using your tutorials and learn to write this language. It's really simple, I think. So I'm really impressed about that. And so yeah, you mentioned all the features. You mentioned that we can connect different marketplaces. Could you go through the pricing?
Yeah, definitely. So and maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself, but we have a special offer just for your audience for half price off their first year. This is what the page will look like using your link. Let me scroll down to the pricing here. It's half price off our normal monthly pricing. So the pricing is based on ad revenue, how much revenue your ads are generating. So it's your sales column in your ad console, essentially. So with us, it was important for us to align our goals with our sellers. You only pay us more when your ads make more, when they're performing. So our plans start at normally $15 a month for our monthly rates, on up just based on the amount of revenue that those ads are generating. So we have our annual plans as low as $750 per month with this special offer. And then we have, you also, if you decide you don't want to start with an annual plan, you get 25% off for the first 3 months.
All right. Thank you, Cameron. If you're watching this video and you want to try MerchJar for yourself, you'll find the link below in the description. Also a special offer just for you. And remember, the pricing is not affected by the number of products you sell or marketplaces you use. It's more about how much advertising revenue you generate, how much revenue you generate from advertising and not ad spend.
For most sellers, it's going to be just on ad revenue, not spend. It's just going to be what the revenue that the sales are generating. We do have a number of active ads that are available in each account. For most private label, Seller Central, Vendor Central sellers, it's going to be very generous tiers for that. So even on our lowest plan, you can have up to 1,000 different advertised ASINs across all your different campaigns and on up from there. So I'd say for, vast majority of sellers, it's just going to be strictly based on the revenue your ads are generating. And of course, you can change your plan anytime. If you go above what the limits are in each plan, it's just going to be a small percentage of the ad revenue after that.
Perfect. And could you reveal us some upcoming features you're planning to implement for your users?
Sure. So a lot of it's going to be around our recipe engine. That's going to be the engine that drives every facet of MerchJar. So having new enhancements to that to make even more powerful, more flexible recipes. So some examples of that would be comparative metrics in math. So for example, you could have a condition where my CPC is greater than 1.5 times my target CPC. So if your CPC is away from your target, it's going to make these changes. Things like if-else conditions we're building in. So a lot of different features around that to just make a lot more powerful automations. And that'll allow for more of starter automations and recipe world for the people that don't want to have to necessarily program that. Just gives overall a lot more flexibility to what can be automated within the recipe system. Outside of that, some things coming up. So currently, MerchJar, we're able to pull in sponsored product ads. We have sponsored brand and display we're anticipating by the end of the year with a new release from Amazon. They have a new version of sponsored display and sponsored brand API coming out. They're anticipating in October, so we're planning very soon after that being able to introduce that to MerchJar as well, so sellers can automate all their ads using MerchJar.
Amazing. So many new discoveries. Even for me, who have made more than 100 demos with different Amazon software providers, I really love the recipe feature. And Remember, if you want to try MergeJar for yourself, you will find the link below in the description. There is a 14-day trial.
No credit card needed, unlimited access to all of our features. We think the software speaks for itself. So we encourage you to give it a try.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Cameron. It was a pleasure and good luck in your business. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
I hope you enjoyed this presentation of MergeJar, just like myself, and you will be eager to try, especially their recipes feature, which I think is quite intelligent and innovative to set up smart conditions for your Amazon PPC advertising campaigns and automation. And if you want to try this software, you'll find the link below in the description. There is a 14-day trial, no credit cards required, and afterwards you can use our offer to get quite good discount for the first 1 year. And if you have additional questions about MergeJar, use the comment section below, ask them, and we will ping a MergeJar to answer and to help you to understand how their software works. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit like. We need and we like likes under our videos. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video with Chris Rawlings. It is also about Amazon advertising, and he will explain how you can turn around unprofitable advertising campaigns. So check this out.